Rand, I need another episode of Fully Cinematic.
Despite the mixed box office success for last year's Chevalier, Three Musketeers, D'Artagnan, Jean Dubarry, and Napoleon, Hollywood's decided to gamble on another French film. But instead of a historical biopic or an adaptation of a literary classic, this roll of the dice is betting on a nearly 23-year-old quirky romantic comedy. So start the accordion music, snag a couple croissants for the road, and follow along as I run down The Fabulous Life of Amelie Poulain, or just Amelie for American audiences. And oh yeah, there will be spoilers. We start at the beginning, the very beginning of the title character's story. On September 3rd, 1973, in Paris's Montmartre area, Raphael Poulin's slurm invades one of his wife Amandine's eggs. And 9 months later, the movie's lead joins the family. Raphael is a strange guy who enjoys like peeling strips of wallpaper and emptying his toolbox just to put all of the contents back in. Amandine is a neurotic weirdo who freaks out when she has pruned fingers in the bath. Because her parents mistakenly believe their 6-year-old has a heart defect, Madame Poulin homeschools her. This isolation from other crumb snatchers fosters an overactive imagination in little Amelie. And her only friend is her suicidal goldfish, Blubber. After dumping Blubber into a nearby stream, Amandine gives her daughter an Instamatic camera in order to make up for the loss of her BFF. When a neighbor tricks her into believing that taking pictures with her camera causes auto accidents and plane crashes, she gets revenge by disconnecting his TV antenna during the big football match. Mother and daughter later go to Notre Dame to pray for a baby brother, and Amelie is standing next to Mom Dukes when she's by a suicide victim, landing on her after taking a flying leap off the roof of the cathedral. Raphael subsequently withdraws from society and becomes obsessed with building a shrine to his dead wife. Fast forward a few years and we find Amelie working as a waitress at Montmartre's Café des Deux Moulins, owned by a woman named Suzanne. Her co-workers include Georgette, a hypochondriac cigarette girl, and fellow waitress Gina, who's popular with the customers. Amelie routinely babysits flight attendant Philomene's cat. She spends her free time doing dumb shit like running her pissy fingers through barrels of grain, cracking creme brulee with a spoon, imagining people having orgasms, and skipping rocks. She attends the movies on Fridays and goes back home to visit her father on weekends. On August 30th, 1997, she catches a news story announcing Princess Diana's and is so shocked that she drops the stopper on her perfume bottle. When it rolls to a stop against the bathroom wall, she notices a loose towel that covers a hole hiding in an old metal box. The box contains miscellaneous keepsakes and belonging to a little boy who used to live in her apartment 40 years earlier. That night, she resolves to track the boy down and return his box. Her first stop is the building manager, Madeline Wallace, who rambles on about her husband who died in a plane crash in 1970. She later gets some info from the grocer, Mr. Collignon, who verbally abuses his developmentally disabled assistant, Lucien, and an old bickering couple. Amelie's neighbor, Raymond, supplies the boy's surname. She locates the now middle-aged Dominique Breteau and secretly returns the box. Dominique is so moved by the gesture that after reminiscing about his childhood, he decides to reconnect with his estranged daughter and to finally meet his grandson, Lucas. Overjoyed by Dominique's reaction, Amelie is determined to help other people as well. First, she escorts a blind man to the train station, describing the sights as they walk. But she's filled with regret for failing to enrich her own father's life in this same way. So she steals his cherished garden gnome and has Philomene take it on a world tour, sending postcards from each stop in order to convince Raphael to finally fulfill his dream of traveling around the globe. She also plays matchmaker for Georgette and regular cafe patron Joseph, who was initially attracted to Gina. She even goes so far as to arrange for him to give Georgette the business in the bathroom. Amelie avenges Lucien by sneaking into Monsieur Collignon's apartment and setting up multiple gaslighting pranks, like resetting his alarm clock, replacing his light bulbs, his slippers with a smaller pair, and f***ing with his toothpaste. When a young man, Nino, whom Amelie sees at a photo booth collecting abandoned pictures, drops his photo album, she determines to track him down and return it. During her search, it dawns on her that she's falling for him. She arranges a convoluted ransom-style meetup with Nino for the handover, where she shows up in disguise and speaks to him via payphone. Amelie's list of good deeds also includes sending a final love letter to Madeline from her husband. She also forges a bond with a wise old neighbor, painter Raymond Dufayel, who serves as a mentor. However, when Amelie meets Nino in person again, instead of introducing herself, she punks out. Naturally, a misunderstanding occurs, but Dufayel encourages surrogate daughter to shoot her shot. And of course, they eventually get together, and Nino slips her his baguette. Plus, Raphael embarks on his world travels, and the new couple rides off into the sunset on a moped. Colorful and quirky, Amelie became a smash hit upon release, remaining in the top 10 for more than 5 months in his home country. According to director Jean-Pierre Jeunet, lead actress Audrey Tautou fell into a depression following the movie's success due to her aversion to being recognized. When Jeunet offered to help her get a job as a supermarket cashier, she pulled her head out of her ass and accepted her fame. Audrey Tautou is very good in her signature role, and the character is pretty interesting too. The movie is most known for its impressive production design and liberal use of a red and green color palette, which is highlighted on the poster as well. Nominated for 5 Academy Awards, Amelie ultimately went 0 for 5 at the 74th annual ceremony due to backlash against Miramax boss Harvey Weinstein's aggressive campaign tactics. Funny enough, the film took an L at home too, being passed over for screening at the Cannes Film Festival. However, it opened at #1 in France and went on to be the country's highest-grossing movie of 2001. Amelie isn't half bad, but if you want to see an even better French fantasy rom-com featuring a lonely Parisian and Jamel Debbouze, the guy who plays Lucien, check out Angel A. In other news, it's time to check out a few comments from other shows. After watching my early review of Mortal Kombat Legends Cage Match, Isaac Maurice 227 said, "Spectacular movie. Only issue is that I wish Kia and Jataka lasted longer. This movie was 80s greatness." Absolutely, Bulldozer. After Raymond Sanchez 4580 said this in response to my Jack Reacher Never Go Back review, "Tom wouldn't make a pimple on Alan's rump, much less a tough guy. Stick to love stories or go away completely." Joe SN6er replied, "You are a moron." My early review of Spin and Gold prompted Jeffrey Steen 1041 to say, "I hated this mess of a movie. They show Kiss in 1974 playing Shout It Out Loud. They didn't write that song until 1976. They don't even look like Kiss." In response to that same video, Kevin Gonzalez 5149 let me know, "I had the Casablanca logo on my wall, Parliament albums. My best friend loved Donna Summer, and all of my white classmates were crazy about Kiss." Kevin's comment got DLC Organization's attention. He asked, "Do you still have it? Was it the original version of the logo or the Casablanca Record and Filmworks version? How did you manage to obtain that logo?" Shout out to Isaac Maurice 227, the Bulldozer 7970, Joe SN6IR, DLC Organization, and Jeffrey Steen 1042 for dropping comments. And shout out to everybody who hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. But I had enough of this conversation, so I'm logging the fuck off.
Fully cinematic.